When I think about that moment when I launched my website and I was suddenly booked up for I think about 4 or 5 weeks. I had weekends booked up, and it was just terrifying. If it doesn't fit the rule book, the textbook kind of thing, that doesn't bother me. I juggle between family life and trying to run my own business. It's just a lot.
Welcome to What If It All Works Out. My name is Sophie Callahan, and I started this podcast because I wanted to empower women to show up confidently and consistently online as themselves by sharing stories and examples of what things look like when they all work out. My career began in photography, and I am now a marketing and mindset coach for female entrepreneurs and the mum to 2 little girls. I teach you everything that I learned over 10 years in my business about content marketing and building the life of my dreams so that you can do the same. My guests here have inspiring stories to tell, knowledge for us to learn from, and really valuable experiences to share with us. So grab a cup of tea and get ready for conversations that will change your mindset, your business, and the way you show up in your life. Jules Williams studied photography and journalism at university 20 years ago. After choosing journalism as her career path, she fell into the world of influencing, blogging, and content creation, building a sizable social media following through sharing snippets of her life and her journey through motherhood. During lockdown of January 2021, Jules decided to return to her love of taking photographs and completed an online photography course. In the June, she launched her photography business, offering shoots to couples, families, brands, and newborns. When she promoted her shoots online, she became almost immediately fully booked. Jules's work is stunning, recognisable, and so natural, so it's no surprise that she's in demand as a photographer. But in this episode, we talk about why building a personal brand before she ever had a business was a catalyst for her success, and how having a ready-made community to sell to has made such a huge difference. We also talk about how to level up your own brand photography, juggling kids and self-employment, and we talk about the privilege of getting to do a job that you truly love. If you're at an early stage in your business and you're waiting to get all of your ducks in a row before you start showing up online, what I'd really love you to take from this episode is that it's never too early to start showing up and leveraging the power of community and building connections. Here's Jules Williams with her story. Hey Jules, how are
Hi,
you?
Hi, Sophie. I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome to What If It All Works Out, the podcast. It's lovely to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. I have followed you for a very long time. And the reason I asked you on here today is because I absolutely love the evolution of your brand and your story and how it kind of goes right back to building your personal brand as a blogger and on Instagram, which I kind of get the impression was a bit of an accident. Am I right in saying that? It was just something you loved and
It
yes.
was, yeah, it just kind of happened. It did just kind of happen, which, yeah,
It's
it's
been really
crazy. Yeah,
organic.
it
So
has.
let's go right back to that beginning then. Can you talk me through how that kind of came about, how you grew your Instagram account and your blog, and yeah, just talk us through that story.
Okay, so I've been on Instagram for I think it's 12 years now.
Wow.
And when I first was on it, I was just on it 100% for the community and the love of just sharing photos. Um, Probably for like 3 years, it was
Mm.
like that. And I was working in PR at the time. It was before I had children. And I guess I became aware that people could do things like brand collaborations. And it was something I had no idea about. I hadn't ever, been approached or been involved in anything. And it kind of piqued my interest. So it did kind of just happen, but I also did have an interest in kind of pursuing it a
Yeah.
little bit. Um, a lot of it stemmed and kind of really came to a head when I had my little boy Oscar, who is now almost 8.
Wow.
But I did do a few collaborations in terms of getting, um, approached by brands for small things, and I could see that there was potential for people to kind of have a business through it. And I started a blog, which kind of was about motherhood, about family life. I was a journalist before I worked in PR, so I've kind
Ah,
of
okay.
always written for a living. It's always been how I've made my living writing, and it felt like a really natural thing for me to do, to have a blog, because it was something that I
Yeah.
enjoyed doing and loved doing. So the blog side of it was very organic, and I just wanted to share motherhood, and that kind of, I really enjoyed connecting with the other bloggers and other people who wrote about similar things as me,
Yeah.
and started that, and it kind of went from there, really. I think the combination of my blog and Instagram, um
Just
it became a
exploded.
business. It became a
Yeah.
business, really. And
Yeah.
because I'd had a baby, and I didn't want to go back to work. um I loved my job, I had a great team, but I wanted to be with my little boy as much as I could. And
Yeah.
so I really kind of, at that point, that's when I thought, I'm going to try and make this a business. I'm
Do
going to try
something
and
with
make,
it.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. But it did kind
I
of just
think
happen and unfold.
that seems to be a catalyst for so many new mums. Like they think that they're going to want to go back to work, or they don't really think about it at all, and then suddenly they find themselves with this baby, and they're like, oh, I don't want to go back full time or even part time, and what can I do from home? So I think that's a really, really common kind of story. So then you worked with some really huge brands. You collaborated with some names that our listeners will definitely know. So talk us through how that came about, how that evolved. Did you approach them? Did they approach you?
It was a mix of both. So I think in the beginning, I did quite a bit of the approaching. It was at that stage, which I kind of mentioned earlier, where I could see other people were working with brands, and I kind of just thought, I'm going to see if this is something I can do. So I always just, it was always with brands I already loved and was a customer of. Um, and I think I approached maybe two brands, and they wanted to go ahead and collaborate with me. And from that point on, I think once you start working with brands, and other brands maybe see brands
Yeah,
working with people, that's when it kind of spirals. And
snowballs. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But in the beginning, I definitely did approach some brands, but then I had some that would came to me as well, so it was a real mix, to be honest.
Amazing. And I feel like you were quite an early adopter of all of this, weren't you? So it was in a time where, Instagram was a really amazing place to be building a brand, and blogs were really in. And I know lots of people have got a lot of issues with Instagram these days, and it's perhaps not quite so easy. But yeah, I think back then brands were really hungry for it, weren't they?
I think so. It feels like it was a different world, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like, because it still is like it's a new thing, isn't it? Really, I know it's been
Yeah.
going a few years now, but in the grand scheme of life, it's a new
Yeah.
thing. But at that point, it really was brand new, and it's different now. I'm not really
Very.
doing that work now, but I think I would be scared now a little bit, because it
Yeah,
has changed so much. It's evolved. It's completely different.
it has.
But it was, it was. I loved it at the time. I did really enjoy
Yeah.
it, and
But you've done a really good job of talking about how Instagram has evolved and changed, of pivoting yourself. So you then went on to learn photography. So how did that come about? Where did that come from? Was that something that you've always loved? Have you always had that plan, or did that just happen?
well, I did it at university as part of my degree,
Okay.
and I loved it. When I graduated, I was either going to be a journalist or a photographer, and I was kind of at a crossroads for about a year, where I didn't know which one I was going to choose. And I went down the journalism route in the end. Um, but that passion was always there. I really loved photography. But after my degree, and after I started doing a different career, it did kind of just fall away.
Yeah.
Um, I guess, when I was doing the Instagram work, I was always on my iPhone. I wasn't taking pictures with a proper camera. So,
Right.
but the photography passion was still there, I guess. And kind of
Yeah, and the
having,
same skill set, I guess.
yeah, the eye for a picture and that kind of thing. Um, but in lockdown, I'd kind of decided, like a lot of people, I think, you kind of had an epiphany in lockdown about,
Yeah,
what you were
another
doing with your life.
catalyst.
And exactly, yeah, there was a lot of time to think about things. And I decided, work had got quiet for me with my collaboration work. Um, and I was already kind of thinking, what am I going to do next? And I didn't know what. I really didn't know what. There was probably about a year where I was terrified and
Mm,
thought, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Um, and a good friend of mine who I met through Instagram a few years ago, Laura Adams, she's
yeah.
Laura Colley Adams on Instagram. We talked for months about how she was going to launch this course, and I had invested in a camera with the intention of relearning, because I'd literally forgotten how to
Yeah.
use my camera properly, because
It's
it
not
was,
like riding a bike.
no, it was like almost 20 years, I mean, little things came back to me when I was relearning, but I did have to really learn it again.
Yeah.
And she talked about how she was going to do this course, and I kept saying, when are you going to do it? Because I'm going to, but it was just, I just wanted to learn. I didn't have any
Yeah.
kind of, sight beyond that. And she did her first course in January 2021, I think it was.
Right.
And because it was lockdown and because I wasn't doing anything else, I was at home obviously with my family. I could really give it everything, and I did. I just fell in love with it again instantly,
Yeah.
and just went for it, I think. And I realized pretty quickly that I wanted to do something with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how that was going to look or what that was going to be, but I think, yeah, I did know really quickly, like, I love this. I want to
Yeah.
take it
This is
further.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So then you did the course,
yes,
you got more experience, you practiced, you built your portfolio, and you launched your business.
yes.
Yeah.
So the course was 6 weeks, and then she very quickly launched like a next level course. It is actually literally called Next Level, and
Yeah.
it's for the people who had done the beginners course, who wanted to take it further or just learn new skills and kind of hone a style. So I did that, but by the time I started the next level course, I knew that I wanted to try and do it for business. And I did a lot of free shoots for families to kind of build my portfolio. And I think it was the course was in the January, and I think I launched my website in the June. And
Wow.
I classed the point of the website at the beginning of my business, really,
Yeah.
because it was that point that I realized this is going to be a business. Because when
Yeah. Yeah.
I put myself out there like that, I started getting bookings, and
Hmm.
I found it unbelievable. I couldn't, like, still, when I think about that moment when I launched my website and I was suddenly booked up for about 4 or 5 weeks. I had weekends booked up, and it was just terrifying, also really exciting.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
an incredible problem to have.
That
I
sounds
mean,
really, and I don't mean it to you.
no, no.
I was at a very reduced, I was doing an introductory rate.
Yes.
So the shoots were, I very quickly learned that I couldn't stay at that rate for very long, because it really burnt me out, and
Wasn't sustainable. Yeah.
it wasn't at all. So
But I love the fact that you basically built your personal brand first, right? And you amassed a following of really engaged, really loyal followers who are invested in you as a person and your story. And then you launched your business off of the back of that. And that was never the intention. That wasn't why you did it, but that's how it's worked out. And do you think that is why you got booked up so quickly? Because people are already invested in you as a person.
I think without Instagram, I don't know how different it would be, but I think it would look
Yeah.
very different, because 100%, um, I had that community there. And when I launched my website, I had friends who shared my website and who shared my business. And obviously, they have a community. And if those
Yeah.
people are based in the Northeast where I'm based, I got bookings from that. So
Mhm.
100% Instagram was definitely a big part of me starting and having bookings.
Yeah.
Um, and still to this day, I would say word of mouth, well, not word of mouth, recommendation and Instagram on 95% of where my bookings come from. So definitely, like, without
Yeah.
Instagram, I don't think I'd be talking to you now.
Yeah,
So
I just think it's fascinating because I think so many people come to me when they want training with marketing and they're like, "Oh, I've not started the business yet. So do you think it's too early?" And my answer is always absolutely not. If you start your business and you've already got those foundations in place, you're in such a better position than you would be if, you know, you start your business and then you're scrabbling around with how to market it. And I just think that this is such a wonderful example of that. I mean, it goes without saying your work is absolutely stunning. I don't mean to
oh,
take
thank you.
anything away from that whatsoever. You know, you're incredibly talented at what you do, and your passion for what you do just shines through your images, you know, as soon as you see them. And I think your style is incredibly recognizable as well, especially for someone who did start so late on and you know, is so new to it. So talk to me about how you've kind of developed that style, because it's very unique and it's very recognizable, I guess.
The honest answer to that is I'm not really sure. It's just how I take photographs. I know that sounds
Yeah,
really, it's not helpful. It's not a helpful answer. But I've thought about that question myself over the last, like, how have I got that style? And I just, I don't know. I feel like
yeah,
even it's just naturally how I take pictures. I feel like I'm quite free with how I take photos in that
yeah. I think
I'm
that
not
comes across.
too, yeah, I'm not ruled by the rules. You know, obviously there's rules to take that when you're learning photography, you learn about the
Yeah,
different, you know, things to stick to. And, you know, I do use them to a point, but I'm also really kind of just driven by what I see and what I want to take pictures of. And
yeah,
if it doesn't, you know, if it doesn't fit the rule book, the textbook kind of things, it doesn't bother me. I just think
yeah.
if I like the image and I'm proud of the image, then that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, I think you can
Um,
see that that all your images are really, really natural. You know, the expressions in them seem to be really natural, and I think you really get a lot out of your clients because they say, don't they, learn the rules so that you can break them. And I think
yeah,
that
that's
it,
it. Yeah.
I feel like that's what you definitely do with your photography style, which is just so lovely to see. I love seeing your images pop up. Um,
Thank you.
I also wanted, so the other thing I was going to ask along that same vein is, do you think that Laura's teaching style, so remind me what Laura's first course is, because I feel like people are going to want to go and have a look at it after this.
The course is absolutely amazing. Honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. It's called Start Where You Are, and
That's
it is
it. Start where you
literally,
are.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is literally what the, you know, what it says on the tin. And you can go in there knowing nothing. So even though
Yeah.
I did a degree, even though, you know, I had a lot of experience from years before with photography, but I really did feel like I was starting right at the beginning. And if you, you know, you can't just you have to put a lot of work into it. I think is what I want to
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
It's a 6 weeks, it's a 6 week course, and unless you're prepared to really put the effort and work in, I don't think you can expect to, you know, suddenly,
Yeah, definitely. That's
yeah.
fair.
But it is, I feel like it is a course that everybody could do. And, you know, if
Yeah.
you've got an interest in photography and you want to, you have to have a, you know, it's a learning manual is basically the gist of the course. So you have to have a camera or access to a camera,
Yeah.
you know, whether you borrow one or hire one or whatever. But I think if you've got an interest, then go for it, because it is one of the best things I've ever done. And honestly, it's changed my life beyond,
That's
I can't,
amazing.
yeah, it's changed
What a
my life
testimonial.
completely. Yeah,
So,
it's
but do
true
you
though.
feel that the way she teaches and the things that you learn have contributed to the way that you take your photographs and kind of that freedom that you feel when you're creating your images?
Yeah, 100%, because she teaches you the rules and teaches you everything you need to know, and you kind of have a workbook to go through, which the way I learn, I have to, you know, I have to read something 100 times to get it
Yeah,
into my
yeah,
head, and then also practice, practice, practice. Um, but the way she teaches really, I don't know, I just feel it has definitely contributed, and I feel like
yeah,
I was already inspired by her, and I loved her photography, so I feel like
yes,
that helped contributed. Um,
amazing.
but yeah, and the second course, sorry to go off on a tangent a little bit, the next
No,
level
no, it's
course,
okay.
that I feel like that was the one that also really helped me kind of find the confidence to just kind of do my own thing, because
Yeah,
that is about finding your style and learning different creative techniques and that kind of thing. and that's once you've got manual down, and then you can
Oh,
experiment and
okay.
do that stuff. So I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think
that,
that's what we're
yes,
probably seeing then. Yeah, that's amazing.
I feel like that's
Very
the
cool.
point where I probably found my style, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to talk about brand photography as well, because you have done a lot of brand photography. You've done brand photography before you started your photography career in terms of like working with brands. And you have also photographed for brands, as that's something you offer within your photography business, right?
Yes.
So how, as a photographer, how would you advise that somebody gets the best from their brand shoot? So whether that's a personal brand or product photography, what is it that you advise your clients to get the best out of them?
I think it's finding the photographer that's really right for you. I think that's so important, because you need to have a trust in your photographer that their style is going to be what you want. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so I think, if you have an idea in your mind of how you want your photos to look, and the photographer that you have in mind their photos don't look like that, then that's not the right person for you. You need
Yeah.
to find somebody who aligns with your vision. I think, for me with brand shoots, it's a shoot where I'll always have a client meeting beforehand to
Mhm.
make sure that if it's a business, for example, like a business person, to make sure that I get everything that they need and can see their vision and that we can work
Yes.
together. I think, for both product and for, people, I think having mood boards and that kind of thing can really help prior to the shoot and when you're kind of engaging with the photographer up to that point. And am I answering your question? I feel like I've gone off on a
Yeah, yeah.
tangent. I am. Okay.
No, you are. Yeah, just how, like, if I've got, if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking of booking a brand shoot, yeah, just how they would get how
The
you would
most.
advise that they get the most from it, basically.
The
Yeah,
most.
yeah, you're
Okay.
answering the question.
Okay. And one thing I always try and do with brand shoots, so I don't offer a shoot that's less than 2 hours, because I feel like when it's a business investment for somebody, you kind of need that extra
Hmm.
time to give them the most out of it. But if it's a person, that I'm photographing, I always say to them to bring, 2 or 3 outfit changes, because I
Yeah.
feel like if you're investing in your business and it is, it's money, it's expensive,
Mm.
you need to get the most out of your pictures. And I feel like if you're wearing the same outfit in every photo, that's, the photos are going to be gorgeous, I don't mean that, but I feel like if you have changes, you'll have more longevity with your pictures. Does
Yes,
that make sense?
absolutely.
Because
Yeah, that definitely does. Yeah. Yeah, you
yeah,
just get more out of them, I think, don't you? You can kind of
definitely.
use them in different ways. Yeah. And I mean, so things you've worked for brands like Anthropology, for example. Have you done work for Joe Malone, am I right in saying?
So yeah, so the work with Joe Malone is, it's not like paid work. It's
Right.
been like product photography. They've sent me
Oh, okay.
products and I photograph them and I'll feature them. So I did that with when I was doing Instagram work, and it's kind of carried on.
Yeah.
Not so
Amazing.
much these days, but it's carried on over a few years. So
So
that's
how do you get the most when you're working with products? What's your advice for photographing products? Because that's something that I know a lot of my audience really struggle with when they're trying to photograph their own products, or they're trying to book a shoot and work out how to get beautiful images of the things that they sell.
I think using as much of what is around you as you can, like using the
Uh-huh.
best of it. So for me, obviously, a lot of when I'm photographing products, most of the time it's in my own home, and it is about the light is probably the most important thing. So 95% of the time I'll use natural light in my photography. I use flash when I have to, but I prefer natural light. And with product photography, it is just about having the optimum light in the time of day for that. So I'll always just make sure that that's the time that I'm doing the pictures. I'll schedule my
Yes.
day around when I know my home is going to be at its brightest. Um, I think it's really considering the props that you're going to use, because you're going to be, for me, I like to really focus on the product, but then have, the background to still look beautiful. So a
Yeah.
really simple way of doing that, I think it's simple in that it's accessible to everybody, is things like flowers, things like
Hmm.
candles. It doesn't have to be expensive props, but you can have those and you can arrange them in a way that it doesn't really matter what the rest of your room looks like if you're doing quite close-up pictures. For me, I've got two children. My house is always chaotic.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, that's life, isn't it? But you
Yeah,
wouldn't know that from my pictures because I'll just have a
no.
very small section of my home clutter free,
Yeah,
and I will just go to town in terms of having the beautiful props around the product. So for Jo Malone, that kind of thing, for example, where it's a lovely, elegant, chic product anyway, that looks
hmm
gorgeous, but simply like placing a few flowers around it, or having a candle like lit in the background that's kind of slightly out
yeah.
of focus, that kind of thing. I think it's just about creating the mood and having lovely props that don't have to cost the earth, and having the best lights. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. And really, people can go away and kind of experiment with that, can't they? And, work
I
out where the
can.
best light is in their house and where the best background is and just tidy one space. Just use
Yeah,
that space. So,
100%.
we don't all have to have Instagrammable beautiful houses all the
You
time.
don't. You don't.
You spoke earlier a little bit about working for free. And that's something that I am a real advocate of when you're starting your business. So
Hmm.
did you did lots of shoots for free when you were starting your
Yes,
business, am I right in saying?
I
Did you
did.
approach those people? How did you find people to shoot for free? What sort of people were you looking for, and how did you make sure that you were getting the most from that?
So I did call outs on social media
Right.
asking for people to, it was, their time in exchange for a gallery of pictures, basically. Um, I found once I had a couple, it became easier because then I started having the content to share to say, this is this is what we can do, and
Yeah,
if you want to spare the time, we can do it. Um, it's something I still do now and again.
yeah,
If there's something, um, if it's I feel it's going to benefit me in my business, uh, and I want to do a particular thing. So, for example, just this week, I um, I'm trying to do elopements. I've done a few
mhm,
elopement shoots, but it's something that I really want to take forward with my business. And it's a really niche market. So um, I think it's going to be a slow burner. It's not something that's going to be an overnight, I'm not going to be booked
yeah,
up. It's going to take time. And the key thing with that is having constant content to share, because if you don't have the content, how can people know what you can offer?
yes,
And while I have got you know, previous clients that I can keep sharing their work, which I am doing. And I've got some bookings later in the year. I want to make sure that I still have more than, I need more content than that.
yeah,
And I have just this last couple of weeks reached out to some three different couples asking if they will do, real couples, I don't mean people that aren't together, but real couples, and ask if they will do an elopement style shoot with me in exchange
brilliant.
for
Yeah,
the photography. And out of the three couples, two of them wanted to do it, which is amazing.
yeah.
And the other one, fair enough, they do. I'm not sure whether I would do it if somebody approached me.
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
It's not for
Um,
everyone.
it's not, but I found that um, doing it that way. I think, well, I don't know because I haven't done it yet. I've approached them. We've agreed the shoots. I've got one on Friday in Leeds.
You have
I'm
to come
so
back and let us
excited
know.
about. I will, but I'm hopeful that I just want to keep the content going. And I think
Yeah,
the good thing about doing the shoots now and again. I'm not saying always do it. It's hard when you want to be paid. You've got bills to pay.
yeah,
I can't. It's not something I do very often at all now because I just don't have the capacity, and my time is precious, and I need to be paid for my time to
absolutely.
my family.
Yeah,
So it's not something that I do very much now, but I will do it when it's going to benefit me and hopefully bring me more business.
yes.
Um,
When you can
or
see a real purpose.
exactly,
Hmm.
or if it's something really creative that I just want to do because the
Yeah,
creative is what really makes me. That's what I love.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's great. I think when I was in photography, it was something that I always did as well. If I had an idea or I
yes,
had something new that I wanted to market, or I just actually wanted a bit of freedom. Sometimes you just need a bit of freedom, and when people are paying you, obviously you're on their time, and when you're doing it for free, you can kind of be a little bit more creative, try things out a bit more, can't you? And but
definitely,
not just in the photography world. I just think if anybody is providing a service, if they're trying to charge for a service that they've never done before, I have a lot of people that come to me and say, well, how do I get testimonials when I've not done anything before? And the answer is always go and work for free. because A, you'll get the experience and you'll build your portfolio of whatever it is you're doing, and you will also build up content for you to be able to post. And I think you're always going to book more of what it is you're posting, like you say with the elopements. So yeah,
100%.
I think
I
it's
think as
really smart.
well, every time I've done something without pay in exchange, for time for
Yeah,
photos, it has led me to some form of business. I've had some booking from it.
amazing.
One of my most successful shoots where I did with a gorgeous family, and it was an exchange like that. I think I had about 10 bookings from them recommending me, which is
Wow.
just insane. And I didn't expect that. I was doing it for the content rather than
Yeah,
expecting that, So
yeah,
it can be really powerful. It can be
yeah,
really powerful. So
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say I mean, you've had different iterations of your brand and your business. What has been your biggest struggle along the way?
I think time management. I
Mhm.
think I really struggle with this, and I still do. I've spoken to you about this, like we've DM'd about this on Instagram
Yeah,
before. It's just the juggle between family life and trying to run my own business is just a lot. And
yeah,
I don't think I'll ever get it right. There's no magic formula.
no,
Often I think it's that thing with social media where everything can look so amazing and rosy and like somebody's flying. Behind the scenes, it can be so different to that. And I think, I've had a couple of, lovely online friends say to me, how do you do it? Yeah, how do you do it
hmm
all? And I'm like, I'm not. It's really
yeah,
hard. Behind the
yeah,
scenes, I'm really struggling here. So I think that the time thing, there's not enough hours in the day, and trying to balance my
yeah.
family with my business is hard.
You're very honest about that online as well, aren't you? You talk, you'll say, I've been working too late tonight, so, tomorrow night I'm putting the computer down, or, I'm cutting something out because I've got so much going on, which I think is, just opening up those conversations and letting everybody else know that actually it's not amazing behind the scenes. Sometimes it's really, really tough is so important. Do you have any strategies that you've put in place to kind of try and help you with that, or any boundaries that you've implemented?
Um,
You can say no.
I don't think I have successfully, in all honesty. I have ideals about,
hmm
being more so for me, editing just takes me forever, and it always has. And it's something I thought I'd get quicker at, and I just haven't. So it's obviously just how I work. So I've
Yeah.
always got ideals about how I'm going to be, better time management with that. But so far, I haven't managed to succeed.
Well,
I just
when you come
haven't.
back and tell us about the elopements, and then you can come back and tell us about your improved time management as well.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think, I think it is something that's a really common struggle, isn't it? I know it's something that I really struggle with, and I try to teach things that help people to manage their time, but we don't always get it right. And I think you're right. There is no magic solution. And what even is work-life balance, especially when you do something you love as well. It's easy to
Yeah,
just work away into the night, isn't it?
it is. It is.
So, um, in contrast to that, what has been your career highlight?
I think, finding, and this kind of contradicts a little bit of what I've just said, finding something I can fit around my family. It totally
Yeah.
contradicts what I just said, doesn't it? Because I'm saying how hard that is. But I think for all I say about how hard it is and the time thing, I wouldn't want to do anything different. And I feel really fortunate that I feel like I've come full circle. It's the strangest feeling because I did it at university and I loved it so much. And it really was a question, should I do this with my career? And then I didn't do it. I didn't ever think it would come back. I kind of just
Yeah,
thought that was done. And the fact that now that I'm doing this and it's my job, I still can't wrap my head around that. So I feel like, in a way,
that's
that
so
is
lovely.
maybe my career highlight, that I've actually been able to bring something back. And I don't know, I feel like
Yeah,
every job, whatever my job has been, is always whether it's PR journalism, when I was doing the blogging, it's always been stemmed from things that I love, whether it's the writing or the photography. So I think maybe just being able to have a career with actual passion is
yeah, that's really
probably.
inspirational. You've had all of these different pivots within your career and within your job, and every single time they've been something that you've really loved. which I think, you know, people can really take a lot of inspiration from.
I'm lucky.
And then I always like to finish with the question, because I think, you know, we really focus on these big highlights and these big struggles and these kind of moments of impact. But equally, I think we need to celebrate the smaller things. So I want to know what your win of the week this week has been.
You know what? I've already mentioned it, but I'm going to say the shoot that I'm doing on Friday for the elopement, because it's something that I've wanted to do for months and months and months, and I've never made time for it really. And I feel like it's something that's going to take my business forward.
Yeah.
So anything that makes me feel like that is a win, because
Yeah.
I think you can get so bogged down in your day-to-day to-do list that often, I don't know about you, but I sometimes just feel so frustrated because there's so much I want to do to take my business
Yes,
forward, and there just
absolutely.
isn't the time to do it. So anything that I do manage to do where I actually feel like it's going to make a difference like that just feels like
Yeah.
such a win, because it doesn't happen that often. So
Yeah, and anything that's going to light you up like that is worth doing, isn't it?
yeah,
And am I right
yeah.
in thinking that you eloped? You and your husband got married in Vegas?
We
Is
did.
that
We got
right?
married in Vegas. We did, yes, in
Is that where that
2010.
passion comes from?
You know, I don't know. Maybe, maybe. I think for the elopement stuff, I did some bigger weddings last year, which were amazing. Photographed them, but I just found it overwhelming doing bigger weddings, and I feel with elopements I can be less stressed and more creative. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
really
why I want to
intimate.
do it. Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Like I love engagement shoots and couple shoots, so I feel like this is an extension of that.
yeah,
Hopefully,
definitely.
yeah.
And there's kind of something quite cool about secretiveness,
Yes, no,
whatever the
there
word
is.
is.
No,
Yeah,
no, there is. Uh-huh.
cool. Lovely. Well, I hope that it goes well on Friday. I will definitely look forward
Thank
to having a
you.
look. By the time this podcast comes out, you will have done the shoot. So
Yes.
maybe people can head to your page and have a look. So on that note, tell us, where can people find you if they want to work with you, if they just want to follow your story? Where do you hang out on the internet?
So on Instagram, I'm at This Is Jules. And I also recently opened a new Instagram account, which is actually just for my like wedding and elopement work, and that's Love Stories by Jules. And then my website is juleswilliamsphotography.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming to chat to us. I knew that
Oh,
you'd
thank
have a really,
you.
really interesting story to dig into, and I wanted to hear more about it. So I know my audience will love that as well. So thank you for
That's
coming on,
lovely.
Jules.
Oh, thank you for having me.
See, it is never too early. I honestly think everybody can benefit from building a personal brand. The power that building a community and positioning yourself as either an authority on your chosen topic, or at least as somebody that your audience can get to know, like, and trust, just opens up so many opportunities. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Jules. I have just loved watching her go from a blogger that I really enjoyed following to an incredibly talented photographer with a diary full of aligned, adoring clients. I'm so here for these kinds of success stories, and I know that you are too. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of What If It All Works Out. Don't forget to subscribe on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you hang out and listen in. I've been absolutely blown away by the reaction that I have received from you guys since first launching this podcast. And I am so, so grateful every time any one of you shares it or comments or lets me know that you're listening in and what you're doing while you're listening. And if you've taken something valuable away, it genuinely means the world to me. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you here again next time.